Hey everybody, I am reading the anticipated new releases for 2024. Let me tell you about them. Hi everybody, welcome to Book Talks with Miss Thomas. I'm Miss Thomas, and if you like hearing about good books, then you're in the right place. Now, for this video, I want to talk about new releases that were, anticipated for 2024. And let me just tell you up front, I'm not thrilled with the books that I read. So I'll tell you about them. I'll tell you what I thought. Two of them I liked, but I'll start with the first one that I didn't really like. Okay, so I just finished She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica. Is it Kubica or Kubica? I think it's Kubica. And I will say, I expected to like this one. So that's probably why I was so disappointed, because I enjoyed two of her other books. I enjoyed The Good Girl, and even more than that, I enjoyed Local Woman Missing. And those I would recommend. The thing about Mary Kubica, the thing about Mary Kubica is that she is good with the plot twists. I look forward to a good plot twist with her books, and she doesn't disappoint there. She had one good one in this book, She's Not Sorry, but then she had one that I was just like, okay, no person would believe this. This is just ridiculous. Toward the very end, the plot twist was just overboard. So She's Not Sorry is the story of Megan, an ICU nurse. Well, it's told from her point of view. And she is a nurse in the intensive care unit when this patient is brought in who has fallen off of a bridge. And so she is just, if she's lucky, she'll survive. She may end up in a coma for the rest of her life. She's had a terrible fall off of this bridge and has suffered traumatic brain injury. And so we get to know Megan as she reflects on this woman who has fallen off of the bridge because her own sister has committed suicide. And we learn of Megan's life, and some of the things in her life were not great. And currently she's grieving the loss of her marriage. She has a teenage daughter, and she goes to a divorce care support group. When she is at this divorce care support group, this old friend from high school shows up at the divorce care, and come to find out, the old friend, is in a marriage where she is struggling with domestic violence. And so Megan becomes obsessed with this high school friend of hers and trying to, really almost force her out of this relationship with this abusive husband. And Megan just really, I thought, crossed some boundaries there. Just got, not that I would say anyone should stay in an abusive relationship, but I just felt like the main character in the book was incredibly annoying. She was obsessed with this high school friend and her marriage, and she was obsessed with this girl in the ICU who has fallen off of a bridge. Well, come to find out, now the police think that the girl did not fall off of the bridge, but she was pushed off of the bridge. And so you just go back and forth in this book with Megan just obsessing over the girl from the bridge and the woman in the abusive marriage divorce situation. And I just got really irritated because I felt like saying, Megan, you need to mind your own business. You need to just focus on your own life, because meanwhile, Megan has a teenage daughter who's struggling, and she doesn't necessarily come across as a bad mom. I just thought that she was way too preoccupied with everybody else's business instead of worrying about her own life and her own family. So, I don't know. I just thought I didn't care for the book because I thought that the narrator, Megan, was super duper annoying. And her teenage daughter, was also really snotty and annoying and bratty. But, coming from such an annoying, nosy mother, that didn't seem so hard to believe. Then there was, like I say, a good plot twist. I appreciate that. That's what kept me, going along with the book, because I knew if I hung in there long enough, there'd be a good plot twist, and there was. But then at the very end, it was like, okay, now this is just getting ridiculous. This is not even in the realm of, believable. So I don't know. I don't know what is wrong with these modern books. I feel like, am I an old curmudgeon? Are the quality of books just going downhill? Or am I just becoming, you know, too particular or a prude or something? I don't know. But anyway, if you like a mystery, you like a good plot twist, you're not one for character development. I didn't buy into the characters, but if you like, you know, a mystery with plot twist and a little bit of layers, then you might like the book. I don't know. I didn't. While I'm complaining, let me tell you, the other book I didn't even finish, and that was The New Couple in 5B. I'd never read a Lisa Unger. Is it Lisa Unger? Yeah. I'd never read a Lisa Unger book before. I'd heard good things. So when I saw this book and I knew nothing about it, that was my fault. Okay. I went into this book completely blind. I had no idea what I was reading. I just knew it was a hot anticipated new release of 2024. So I started, what was the audio? I was listening to the audio, and it was just really too creepy for me. And I like a mystery. There was a little bit of mystery to it, but it was really more just creepy, weird stuff in the book. And there's this woman, her name is Rosie, and she's trying to get pregnant with her husband, and they're like living, you know, oodles of noodles kind of lifestyle. She's trying to make it as a writer. I think he's trying to make it as an actor. And then come to find out, they inherit this beautiful apartment, you know, really incredible posh apartment that is like way above their means. Some friend of theirs, an older man, passed away, and he didn't have family that he really cared about. The daughter, he had a daughter who shows up really angry that they inherited the apartment instead of her. And I don't know, it was just weird. So then they go in the apartment, and they're all excited to have this great apartment, and just real creepy things start happening. There's this elevator guy, doorman guy, who's there 24/7, and he's just super creepy. And then there's these neighbors that they keep saying, oh, look at all the new young people. Isn't it exciting to have these new young people? And it almost reminded me, like, did they want to drain her of her blood or something? Oh, and then the sister, the main character, Rosie, has this sister who does have a dream that Rosie is in a situation where people are draining her blood. And then after that, you have all these neighbors going, oh, look at the new young people. And I thought, so do they drink blood? What is this? This is just getting too creepy for me. And then Rosie goes down into the storage area, and the lights go out, and she sees this kid with his eyes gouged out, and she freaks out. And of course, the doorman shows up and says, no, there's nobody like that. I think you imagine that. And she just starts imagining all kinds of things, but they're real, but is she imagining them? It was too creepy for me. So then I was like, do I want to DNF this or not? I couldn't decide. And so I looked up the book on Goodreads, and I read that it's supposed to be a modern Rosemary's Baby. So I don't know anything about Rosemary's Baby. I looked that up on YouTube, and apparently it was a horror movie, 1960s or 1970s with Mia Farrow. And so I watched the trailer to try and get a sense of, like, what am I dealing with here? Am I dealing with horror or mystery or a psychological thriller or what? I don't know. And I started to get the sense that it was going toward horror, and that's not really my thing. And I didn't really care about the characters. I thought Rosie seemed awfully simple-minded. She just seemed to go along with whatever she was told. And there were things that, you know, obviously there's something going on with her husband, and she's just, oh, but I love him, I believe him. And that was just not, I just don't go for characters like that. So that one I DNF'd. If you like horror and you are a fan of Rosemary's Baby, maybe that would be for you. I don't know. I don't know anything about Rosemary's Baby, and now I'm getting these stupid things on my YouTube that, you know, are about Rosemary's Baby because I looked it up on YouTube, and I'm like, no, I am not interested. I don't know how to make these things stop popping up. So I finally just returned that one to the Libby app. It wasn't for me. I will say one that I really liked was Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice. Now, if you like Finley Donovan books, then this one is for you. I think this was the best of the Finley Donovan books, and I've read all of them. This one I like the best. And the reason I like this one the best is because, you know, it picks up right at the very end of the last book. So there's the car that's missing, and Vero's friend Have has been taken by, she believes, the mafia. And so Finley and Vero go on this road trip to try and rescue Have. But the thing is, Finley's husband, the, you know, annoying husband, he does not want her to leave the state with the kids. And turns out there's like some fine print in the custody agreement that she can't leave the state with the kids. And so he decides he's going to join them because she's not going to leave the kids with him. You know, he's always getting into different messes and she doesn't know if the kids would be safe with him. And it is her weekend. So he says, well, I'll just go with you then. And then Finley's mother says, oh, I'll go too. I want to have a girls' trip. And come to find out, the mother joins them because she hates the ex-husband and she is team, what's the guy's name? And she is team Nick, you know, the hot cop. So Finley's mother wants Finley to, I guess, remarry or at least have a good romance with the police officer, Nick. And she does not want Finley to get back with her ex-husband. So she decides she's going to join them on the road trip to run interference. And I just love that. I love the dynamic of, well, there was a lot of girl time, right? So it was the mom trying to have girl time with Finley and Vero. And then, of course, eventually Georgia and the other police officer, a woman that is Georgia's partner, her partner in work and her partner romantically, they join. And so there was some fun things about the girls, like Finley and Georgia and the mother and Vero. It was just a fun dynamic. And then, of course, the idiot ex-husband getting into all kinds of messes, and he can't manage the kids. There's some funny things. At one point, he loses one of the kids. And so it was just a lot of fun. I really liked that one. So, and it also seemed, you know how usually with the Finley Donovan books, they end in such a way that lend themselves to a sequel? This one ended, you know, resolved. Everything was resolved and cleaned up and neat and tidy in the end. So I'm wondering, is this the last of the Finley Donovan series? I would love to see the author start a new series, maybe with some new characters. I hope so. But it was a good way to end. And maybe there'll be more, I don't know. But it was a good one. It was my favorite Finley Donovan. So that one I recommend. Okay, in another video, I talked about The Lost Bookshop, but it was an anticipated release for 2024, so I'll just briefly tell you. You can check out my video where I reviewed that one, but I did really like that one. And that is a book with, I think, 3 timelines, and there's this character named Martha who's in a bookstore, and it begins with her, I think it's the 1980s, and this little boy comes in and he loves the bookshop. And so Martha starts to tell him the story of the bookshop. And there's another timeline with a character named Colleen, who I think it was the 1920s, escaped a marriage to a man she didn't love. She wanted to be independent back in the 1920s. And so she ends up in this bookshop, Colleen, in the 1920s, and then Martha comes in the 1980s, and the book just flashes between the different women and the different time periods, and it was lovely. I did enjoy The Lost Bookshop. I liked the characters. It was a good book, like if you want to read about some strong women, especially in the 1920s, this Colleen woman. It was horrible, though, the way she was treated. You know, a woman who wants to be independent back then must be crazy. But it was, you know, so she was treated badly because of that, because of her desire for independence. And it was a good book. So I definitely, I do recommend The Lost Bookshop. And then another one, I'm not even going to go there. The teacher, I, as you know, I am a teacher. And so I was really offended by the teacher because of the way that, you know, teachers were, I felt like they were just presented as a bunch of predatory, pervy characters. And I know, you know, you can get the occasional bad character in a book. I mean, you could have corrupt anything in a book, but I just felt like that book, I don't recommend it. So I'll leave it at that. You can watch the video if you want, but I ranted about the teacher. Okay, and finally, this may or may not be an anticipated book, you know, like out there in social media, but a book that I was anticipating. It was probably my most anticipated book of 2024. is definitely The Tangled Tale of the Woolgathering Castoffs. I read the first book by this author and it was just delightful. I'll put that one up here. And I liked that book. It was about these women and they get together and they knit prayer shawls or crochet. They mostly knit. I think one might crochet in the church sanctuary, or no, the prayer room. They get together in the prayer room. This is the first book. And they knit prayer shawls, and the pastor says, oh, you know, you guys need to be out in the world and appealing to, you know, the lost world, so you can't get together here anymore, you need to find somewhere else. So they end up knitting right outside of Macy's in the mall during Christmas season, and it was just so lovely because they're in the mall and the different people see them knitting and come up and talk with them, and they get a chance to witness to people, and they befriend all kinds of people from all different walks of life. And I loved it. I just thought it was really lovely. And so this one, The Tangled Tale of the Woolgathering Castoffs, has some of the characters from the first book, but not all. So I think it's one, it might be Rose, was in the first book. And she also has like a knitting group where she gets together and knits outside of the elderly, like dementia unit, I forget what it's called, like memory care unit, in an assisted living. It's one of those places where she lives, different people, her friends, they live there independently, but there are also people who aren't independent in the same facility. And so she and her friends get together outside of the memory care unit and they knit prayer shawls, and they see the different people coming and going to visit their loved ones who have dementia. And they pray for them and they knit for them. There's this one really, really cranky lady that crochets for them. But it was a very sweet book, and it was just very encouraging and lovely, and it was rich in character development. I love character development, and this book, just like the first book, was just full of really multi-dimensional, wonderful people, women and men, elderly women and men. Oh, and some younger people too. The one woman would come with her granddaughters, or no, the one woman would come with her daughters to visit the grandmother who had dementia. And I really had a special place in my heart for those granddaughters, because one was real little, and so she was just, you know, unfazed, very excited and happy to be there. But then there was this teenage girl who just wanted her grandmother, you know, and some days her grandmother wouldn't recognize her, and some days were good days, some weren't so good. And I just really felt for that teenage girl and what it must be like for her to try and understand what's happening to her grandmother. And the characters were just wonderful. I really recommend that book. Fragile Designs by Colleen Coble was outstanding. That was published in January of 2024, and I was definitely waiting for that one to come out, and it was well worth the wait. Colleen Coble has never disappointed me. She's a great Christian mystery author, and in Fragile Designs, the main character, she's pregnant, and she comes home to find her husband murdered in their home, and he was a police officer. So she moves in with her, I think it was her grandmother, and she's got these two bratty sisters. They're all grown women, but the two bratty sisters are just, oh, she's out for the inheritance. She's going to take our inheritance, and they're just awful. But they come to, and the three sisters have to figure out how to get along. But there's also the mystery of why the husband was killed. So Fragile Designs was definitely a really good one. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. And the last one, if you are a Robyn Carr fan, Robyn Carr came out with a book this year called The Friendship Club, and it looked so cozy and fun. It had women in the pool swimming together, and it just looked like my kind of book. So I was really excited about it. I didn't really care for it all that much. Some of the characters I liked, but some of them I didn't. And I don't know if the book, I don't want to say it had an agenda, but it definitely had a message that it wanted to put out there about women and stalkers and the dangers of getting mixed up with men who are stalkers. And there's this one character who just deals with that throughout the book. And I found that to be, you know, just on and on and on. It was too much for me. I wanted to hear about the friendship and the character development, and it was just a lot of emotion about this woman's struggle with her stalker. And it was also frustrating for me as an older woman because she covered up for him and she lied for him, and she just was very codependent, and I didn't understand that. I had a hard time with that. So but there were things about the book that I liked. I liked the character Marnie. She has a cooking show, and she has turned her cooking show. She starts out giving out samples in grocery stores, I think, and she just grows into this dynasty of a woman who films a cooking show in her house, and she's just the picture of success, and I liked her. And she had a friend named Ellen. And then, of course, Marnie and Ellen are, you know, older women who find new love that, you know, just brings vitality back into their lives. And that part was fun. I just didn't care for the character Sophia, who is the younger character in the book who gets into this unhealthy relationship. And I can understand. I think that there's value in, you know, raising awareness. I just didn't find that entertaining. For me personally, I was looking to be entertained. So I didn't really care for that one. I have to tell you, so far, I'm not thrilled with the hot new most anticipated releases of 2024. Please recommend a good book so that I can have a good book to read, recommend in the comments. Unfortunately, the great anticipated releases of 2024 so far aren't that great for me. I'm not really impressed with the new books out there. If you can recommend a good book, then please do that in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know, encourage me, and support my channel and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.